We all know that delivery is a very important question in e-commerce. So our special guest, Mr. Vuk Borisavljević, Mr. Vujadin Šćepanović, and Mr. Slobodan Gogić from EY Technology Consulting will talk about EY delivery in their case study. The stage is yours.
So if you did not have a nap time after lunch and you did not listen to Rade, I would like to say a couple of words of EY Technology Consulting. So EY is not anymore just a tax or audit company. We are also a technology solution company. And in next wave strategy that EY defined, they invest a lot and they bought a lot of companies in technologies. And we are one acquisition like this, and we bring, I would say, we bring experience to the table. So I would like to introduce myself first. I'm Vuk Borisavljević. I'm 12 years working in e-commerce projects around Europe, from Finland to Greece, on B2B project, B2C projects. And here we are. We want to show you an example of one successful case study that we did in Serbia with Lili Drogeria. And here is Vujadin and Slobodan as our guest and the client. Let them introduce themselves.
Okay, hi, my name is Vujadin Šćepanović. I'm a software architect in EY, and basically if you decide, and I hope many of you will decide in the future to work with us. I'm, the technical guy that is going to bug you with all the technical details and questions, etc. We basically all are technical guys. We're delivery. I mean, the fact that we're dressed in these smart suits. I mean, usually you'll see us in our natural habitat, like with the T-shirt and the monitor around. We were thinking about what would be the useful information that we can kind of convey in a half an hour. So actually, I'm quite interested. I mean, how many IT professionals do we have in the audience? I mean, there must be some. Okay, cool. So guys, you will hear a grueling story that you know from your career. This is mostly directed to the companies who are actually contemplating of moving towards e-commerce, etc. And then obviously, all right, so I have a successful business, a brick and mortar store or something, and I would like to open up a new channel. I have to invest in this large e-commerce product. So how do I do it? I mean, what kind of questions should I ask? How is it going to look like? What kind of questions are going to be asked by my software vendor, and how is this whole process going to go? So that's basically the story that we're going to have today. And that story always has two sides. So, I mean, obviously, it's a successful software project involves, well, a software vendor, but also a client. So we are going to introduce our dear friend Slobodan, who is working with us for last year or so on this project. So you will get a little bit of that from the client side as well. So here's to Slobo.
Thank you, Vujadin. My name is Slobodan Gogić, and I'm coming from Lili Drogeria, Serbia. I'm working there as basically technology manager for e-commerce platform, and I'm working in Lili Drogeria for about 11 years and last 7 years as a technology manager for e-commerce. I will just give you a brief introduction about the company. The company was established in 2003 as a retailer with the main objective to provide quality beauty supplies, cosmetics and such at affordable prices. Later in 2006 we have expanded to pharmacy, so our product portfolio increased by pharmaceuticals and the like. And in 2010 we opened our first store in Bulgaria. Basically the latest project for expansion was Greece, where we opened so far I think 5 stores. So overall in Serbia we have more than 200 stores in Bulgaria over 100, and finally in 2016 we have decided to go with e-commerce for our business. Since then, until the end of the 2021, our e-commerce platform is basically one of the third, if not the first, store by revenue out of all of our stores in Serbia. I mean, the result is there, and our e-commerce is working really well. But as you all know, there is no stopping in developing e-commerce, because if you stop developing and settle with what you have, you will most likely be run over by your competition. And we all know that competition is extremely high in this line of business. So we have decided to improve basically all of our processes, both logistical, technological in terms of new platform, better software solution, hardware, etc. And this is the reason why we decided to go with the EY as a company who has a large experience with the e-commerce solutions. And this is how we gather around and created our first project on improving our e-commerce even more than it is now.
Yeah, so actually the story started with, I mean, the Lily is not new in this business. They're doing e-commerce for a long time, but they had issues. They had issues with previous vendors, and basically, although they were doing well, they wanted to improve. So they've asked us, okay, can you do just a rundown of things that we have so far and how well this is all built and which are the areas of the improvement. And we realized that the software package that they have is actually not that, it is actually rather okay, but what was lacking was actually how to handle the whole process of managing the software project. And I think this is really an important topic, especially in the region, because I think that in the region we still lack a little bit of that experience with major software projects for companies that are not primarily into IT. And we kind of started moving on from there. So basically, I mean, even in the cases when we're starting the projects which are not with a client that already has an e-commerce presence, but from let's say the beginning, the question that we get quite often is, okay, so I'm thinking of implementing this feature, or I'm trying to implement the e-commerce channel. How much money are we talking about? And the answer for that is basically anywhere between, I don't know, 1,000 and 10 million. You cannot go into that without actually going really thoroughly documenting all the processes that are relevant for the future e-commerce channel, understanding the client's needs, understanding where the client wants to go, and that's the first, and then going into the details. What is your data? How does your data look like? How are the existing systems that you are actually already using, which are running in the background, are going to, let's say, interfere with the e-commerce channel, etc. And then basically building the entire picture, but in such a way that it is thoroughly documented and that it is understood the same way by the software developer and the client. And we actually had that a lot. It's like we had the shouting matches over things like, all right, but why don't you do it this way? But I can't do it this way because of other things that are related to it, etc. But what is important is that during this blueprint process, we end up with having completely documented, completely really kind of succinct description of all the things that we need to do. We understand how we're going to do them, and both the client and the software vendor understands, well, basically are on the same page. And only then we can kind of move on to judging the scope, judging the actual budget, and then deciding which of the things are, let's say, moving in or moving out, or the way we're going to do them. And I mean, there are a couple of very important questions that you have to consider there. For example, quite often you would have a client who works things certain way, and then there are two options there, right? One is, I have a process which is organic, I have a process which is completely connected to the way I do my things and I cannot change it. On the other hand, you might have, for example, a client that simply is used to doing things a certain way and it is incompatible with a solution that, with a, let's say, e-commerce solution or that line of business. And then that has to change, and then we have to explain why, etc. I think Vuk has something to say on that topic.
Yeah, so while we were, for example, one of the biggest projects that we have done in the area was Mladinska knjiga, and there was a gap between what they have right now and what the platform offers. And we need to talk with them and to make the things that are bad and the things that are done in different way with the platform that they were doing before, to accept that and to acknowledge that and to change the way how they are doing. So this is really important, that in blueprint phase we come to this understanding and to see what platforms offers, what will be the change, but that change to not impact all the organic processes that are done in the companies during the years. So this is one of the gaps, traps that are important to not get into it.
So, I mean, I'll just give an example that we had with Lily, for example, with the configurable products. So basically, so you have a nail polish, and you don't want to sell the nail polish as, let's say, every nuance of a nail polish. I mean, not that I'm able to distinguish them, but Sloba is like Serbia's primary expert on female cosmetics. So, all right, but I mean, so you have a nail polish in different nuances. You want to, for your customer to come to your site, have a basic e-commerce experience and just like choose the nail polish and choose the nuance, and that's it. But that involves a whole bunch of questions on how the whole process works in the background. Basically, what is your data on the products that you have? Do you have an information based on which you can kind of group different nail polishes so that they're actually represented as one product on the site? And then even if you have that data, do you have anything in the back end that can tell the front end that this is actually one and the same product? And these are usually the questions that we're going to ask during the blueprint phase until we eventually find, well, let's say, a common understanding how we're going to implement this and what it will take for this to actually work as expected. But I mean, it is just one of many challenges. I mean, Slobo, you can kind of mention some others that you have that I think that might be interesting for the audience.
Yes, one of the problems that probably every e-commerce run into is basically will you choose to adopt e-commerce to your business logic and business processes, or you will adjust your business processes to follow the e-commerce? And that's something that is never easily done, especially in large corporate environments where you have 1,000 different processes and you cannot change them easily to suit the needs of the software for e-commerce that you are using. People usually, I mean, we actually decided that we will not change majority of our processes, but slightly adjust them to follow the platform that we are using. And that was our main issue, why we were actually changing the e-commerce platform, because platform as is as we run it since 2016, was unable to be adjusted to follow our business processes at in any near time. It will take a lot of time and it will take a lot of money to adopt that platform. And this is one of the reasons why we have choose to go with the Magento, because it's a robust platform and it gives us the flexibility to change it, and at the same time it also has some features that are very useful to us. For example, Adobe Sensei AI product recommendations, which if you want to develop yourself, you will need a lot of resources for that, both in terms of men and hours, and of course in terms of money. And that's something that we decided to go with Magento, because some of the features are already built in, and they actually reduce the amount of implementation and development.
Yeah, that's also another point. So EY, by the way, EY is doing, actually I am leading an Adobe Commerce team for Lily's project, but we're also doing HCL, we're doing other e-commerce platforms, and this is one of the main questions early on. Okay, which platform should I choose? Well, basically the idea is to choose the platform which will provide you out-of-the-box functionality that you need. That's one part of the equation. But on the other hand, I mean, you're not going to buy a Ferrari just to go, I don't know, fishing once in a while. So, I mean, there are budgetary constraints, and you don't want to buy more than you need. And then the third thing is, obviously, whatever you decide eventually that you're going to buy, you have to be prepared that you're going to have to change some internal processes in order to make it to work. Because moving into e-commerce, it's not just adding an additional sales channel on an existing business model. It's basically starting with a completely new business model. And if you think about the way these processes work, I mean, every part of the company in one way or another is going to be involved in this. There are certain ways you're going to issue your invoices. There might be legal constraints that were not attached to your processes before, and now they are. The marketing is like a completely different universe on online compared to like a regular brick and mortar stuff. And then we end up with a particular kind of puzzle. So it is not good when a company has, for example, moving towards the e-commerce and no one is interested about it except the IT guy who's like somewhere in the cellar trying to make it work. But on the other hand, I mean, if you involve too many people, then like too many people will block the decisions, etc. So even from the side of the client, this process of making decisions has to be, let's say, viable. I would say in certain ways, so like to make it work. There are multiple platforms, for example, which you can opt for, but then again, I think, like in every case, it is best to do the things gradually and move step by step, and then kind of build on top of that. So, and that's exactly what we've did with Lily. So we're steadily improving the performance of their online platform until it is well, until they're satisfied, and I guess that could take an eternity. I mean, there are also other parts of the e-commerce which are, I mean, generally related to the software, but they're not immediately obvious to the clients, and that's like 24/7 support, the infrastructure that goes with it. So, for example, I mean, if your site is down, it is just the same as if you would have a regular brick and mortar shop and you just told to your employees to leave and close the shop, and that's it. So you cannot allow that to happen. And it's one of these things, it takes a lot of effort. It takes also a lot of expenses to be sure that this is not going to happen, or at least if it happens, to be prepared to sort it out quickly. And EY is basically doing that part of the story. It's also one part of our services. Maybe you can expand a little bit on that as well.
Yeah, so EY is offering 24/7 support with follow the sun principle. So we have a team in India, US, and Serbia that is doing this. So every time you have some problem, there is a person that is working in his shift, so you don't wake up somebody, you don't disturb somebody, you have the dedicated resource for that. So one more thing that I want to mention in this platform selection, like one of our customers is Green Bay Packers, the NFL football team. So the important thing that they realized, we went to the tender to them, and we wanted to deliver them with one platform. They decided to go to the other platform, but they wanted us to be an implementator, because they said, you know how to deliver e-commerce solutions. That's the important thing. So the clients need to understand that the other part is not the enemy, that the vendor is not will bring to the table the knowledge of delivering e-commerce solutions and in the best practice way. So
that is, yeah, I'll just add on top of this. So the most important thing that as a software vendor you can achieve on a software project is a complete trust with the client and a complete transparency. And one of the things that we saw with some of the local companies that we were working at is that they were lacking this with their software vendors. So there are a whole bunch of buzzwords in different industry. I would say paradigms on how to handle a software project in this way, so that the customer is always aware of what is being done. But it basically boils down to that. So you want to see your customer see the progress. You want to see that your customer is involved at every step. And just as Vuk said, well, basically our customers they are member of the team, really, and that's why Slobo is here as well. So that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, Slobo, you want to say something?
Yeah. I think the important thing is that we as a retailer, we really don't need 15 developers, 24 people for support and anything like that, because that's not our core business. Our core business is to sell some products. So it's not really we don't have any we don't have resources for such sector which will handle development and the support. And this is why we also went to EY, because they have a lot of developers who are available to us, and they also have 24/7 support, which will I know that I can call them in the middle of the night and someone will answer and said, okay, no problem, we will fix that for you, which is extremely important, as Vujadin said, that you really cannot afford your site to go down. I mean, at some point it will probably happen, God forbid, but if you can mitigate that damage quickly, then you are pretty okay with that. You're in clear waters.
So yeah, that's about it. I mean, do you have any questions for us, please? Yes.
I have a question. You mentioned that it's important for you to understand the business you want. Yeah. Where do you see your role in advising the client? Because as you said,
it's very important. Yes. I mean, the client has to make the important decisions, but the client has to be aware of the consequences of these decisions. And it is completely natural. I mean, let's say we are the IT guys, but people who are let's say that we work for, their primary line of business is not developing software. They're selling something or doing other things. So basically, you have to advise the client. But client has to make the decision, but client has to be aware of what are the consequences of the decisions that are being made. And it is an interesting kind of process when you're starting the blueprint phase of the project. Client knows things about their system. We are just getting introduced in this, but in this mutual dynamics of conversation, etc., it gets clearer to both of us where the things are and where the things are going. So I think it is important. One thing that I don't like to hear in industry is like, oh, client is constantly changing its mind. Well, that means that there is a problem. Either you did not explain all the consequences to the client, or maybe you don't take into account everything that the client needs. So yes. That's the answer. Anything else? No? Once, second, third time? No? Okay. Then I guess we're up for the break.
Yeah, one big applause for these guys. Yeah, like you say,